Originally, I wasn't planning on talking about this movie. I was just going over my 2015 list and remembered that I hadn't seen this one yet. So I watched it and I just had to talk about it. What a disappointment. I first saw the trailer for this late last year, and I thought the idea behind it was neat. I mean, a Skype horror film. I was looking forward to it. I thought, hey, that's a neat idea. If they do it right, it could work. And they didn't. It's about 6 friends who are having a Skype chat, and there's this mysterious person there who they don't know who it is. It comes out that this is the 1-year anniversary of somebody who used to be a friend of theirs killing themselves. And after some shenanigans, they more or less come to the conclusion that the person who's there is the ghost of the girl who killed herself. I mentioned this in the Gallows review, but why is it every modern found footage movie, everyone has to be an asshole? There's not one likable character here. They're all just the worst people ever. Even the lead girl, Blair, who you're kind of supposed to feel bad for, even she's horrible. They're all horrible people. And that may have been by design because these people are getting what they deserve. But the thing is, the movie starts off and they're horrible people. And then as the movie progresses, the truth about certain things that they've done starts to come out. And you find out that they're even more horrible than you first thought. There was a lot of yelling back and forth, and I get it because they're trying to make it realistic. That's how people would be arguing if something like this happened and they couldn't get off Skype or they would die. But at times it just was very grating. It just started to desensitize you after a while. I think largely was that I didn't care about any of these people. They were all horrible people. It starts off, you find out this girl was bullied into killing herself. And then as it progresses, you actually see the video footage that is what caused her to kill herself. And it was just this high school bullshit, which I realize is a target audience of this. The one girl, Laura, is at a party, has too much to drink, and goes out, passes out, and shits herself. I laughed at that for a couple of reasons. The first being that they show it twice, and it's a mess. And secondly, because it reminded me of a party that I was at when I was younger, and there was a girl there that shit herself. She's probably thanking her lucky stars that she did that back in the day before everyone had a cell phone, because now that stuff just is horrible and commonplace, and you fuck up anywhere and it's going to be all over the internet. So there's these bunch of friends that are having the most inane conversation humanly possible on Skype, and they're invaded by the spirit of their dead ex-friend who is messing with them. When they were jumping back and forth between things, they were using Skype and Google and Facebook, and it was nice to see the actual thing instead of Headbook or Moople or something where they couldn't get the rights to the software or whatever, and they just made up this fake version. So that gave it a layer of authenticity. The other thing that I liked was later in the film, Laura was having them play Never Have I Ever. And that was when the truth of what each of them did really started to come out. The first couple rounds of that were pretty tense. And then it kind of dragged on and it lost a lot of its luster. And it devolved into yelling and screaming. What I didn't like about the movie is a much larger list. The people were all awful. Whenever somebody was dying, they did that thing where you only see a couple of frames of them dying, and then it cuts to black, and then a couple of frames of them dying, and and they did that with every single person who died. The text chat thing got really old really quickly. It was mostly Blair talking back and forth to her boyfriend, and while they did do some clever things where she would type out something and then she wouldn't send it, Blair was saying that Laura had some problems, and her boyfriend was asking what. She typed that her uncle molested her, and then she erased that, and she went to write something else, and I thought that was clever. But it just went on and on and on. They were constantly typing, and they were doing a lot of, why won't you answer me? Question mark, question mark. And you're sitting there as the audience and you're waiting. And then it artificially lengthened the movie, and it didn't really add any suspense because at the times that these were happening, there was no real danger. It was mostly just people yelling at each other at that point. It just dragged it on and made it annoying. At one point, Blair's trying to find help, and since she can't leave the computer, she goes on chat roulette looking for people that'll help her. And of course, it being chat roulette, all the guys are basically tits or GTFO. So that part had to be in there as comedy. The deaths were incredibly stupid, too. I'll spoil the one that was spoiled in the trailer. The one guy shoves his hand in a blender, and it's, oh my god, he's gonna, shoves his hand in a blender, scream, black screen, goes back and forth, everybody's screaming. I turn the volume down. That was probably the worst. And then just dumb stuff like the one guy, he has a gun, and he pulls it out, and he points it at the webcam, like, I'll shoot you! You're gonna shoot the webcam? And then, let's not forget about the ending. This movie is another one from Blumhouse, and I've actually seen quite a few of their movies this year. And this is the fourth movie to end on a Bagul. If any movie decides they have to end on a boo scare, it's now a Bagul scare. So you have Sinister 2 with the quote-unquote real Bagul, which is where I got the term from, because the first movie ended with Bagul jumping out of the camera. Annoying, because it felt cheap, but the rest of the movie was so good that I let it slide. Sinister 2, the movie was not good at all, and then it ended on the exact same scare. Then you have The Gallows, where the killer jumps at the camera at the last second. Then you have Paranormal Activity 6, where the ghost flies at the camera at the last second. And now we have Unfriended, where Blair closes the laptop and ghost Laura, with big nasty pointy teeth, jumps at the camera, cut to black. Bagul! Is there some new contractual obligation where they have to end on the same thing every time? Don't you think that maybe the audience is going to pick up on this and it's not going to be scary anymore? It's extra frustrating because Blumhouse, they did The Purge Anarchy, which I thought was a major step up from the first one. They produced The Visit, which was a horror comedy that I absolutely loved. But then they have this kind of nonsense. Is Gem and the Holograms going to end on a Bagul? I don't know. Of course, they're making a sequel, and I don't blame them, because the movie cost $1 million to make, and it grossed $62 million. So with that kind of return on investment, absolutely they're going to do a new one. Just for the sequel, can we not have people that are horrible? Maybe get somebody who's sympathetic? So, Unfriended. It's not going to unseat The Gallows as the worst movie of the year, but it's pretty close. The whole thing is just this stupid mishmash of cyberbullying and awful people getting their comeuppance. But in the end, it's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, I'm surprised it wasn't presented to the UN as proof of cyberbullying.